they've been there, we haven't. You know, this paper is something that is, for a lot of people, this assessment form, a lot of people go through this assessment. Don't get me wrong, it's the best basis that we have, but also when somebody's telling you, no, I need substance abuse counseling, I don't care that I've only used once. You know, so your paper and your assessment's not going to tell you that you need substance abuse counseling. But if this person is telling you that, there's something there. And maybe it's not that person, maybe it's a family member that I'm living there. We'll keep you on track. Okay, I'm going to go back to the paper. One of the things that we do is the majority of our work includes reentry services, but besides typical offender residential programs, we also do a lot of non-residential programs. We work with, we have a lot of programs that we work with kids. We just love kids because we feel like if you look at any research, it'll tell you that you need to work with these kids because they're going to end up in the same system. We have a program called Children of Incarcerated Parents. Our staff go into the institutions and work with father inmates. At the same time, we're working with the significant other and the children at the same time in the community. And we're also taking that family unit into the prisons to work with them as a unit. We do programming with that significant other if they need a job, if they need their lights turned on, if they need food, if they need those kinds of things. Once the inmate is released from prison, we continue to work with them as a family unit. Putting families back together is what's very important. Sometimes they're not traditional families. Sometimes it's grandma, child, and inmate. Sometimes it's two babies' mothers. But the important thing that we're trying to do is that that father has to parent. I don't care who's the mother or who's acting as the mother, but you gotta work together. So it's a really interesting program. We do a lot of mentoring programs, fatherhood programs, and I'll get into those later. But the majority of our residential offender programs are, we do our evidence-based treatment programs. And I always say evidence-based treatment programs because it's really important to say that we made a decision about 15 years ago that if a program was not based on research, then we weren't going to do it. It's wasting our time and it's wasting the offender's time. So we only do that. If there's no research available in the field, then we conduct our own research. We've got several research projects that we've conducted. Dr. Shively usually gets a team either from Ohio State or University of Cincinnati, does a lot of our research. Kent State did our EQUIP, which we're going to talk about later. It's our cognitive behavioral program. So we just work and ensure that it's working. If it's not working, it's not worth doing it. We do a lot of cognitive therapy, and we're going to talk about that again. Our employment services, we have a very large employment services department. We have about 400 employers that will hire our offenders. And it's the best kept secret ever. Any involvement, we don't just service people that are going through Alvis house. Any offender in the community can come to our employment services department and go through our program and get a job. All of our residential clients have to be employed in the first 15 days of admission. Our federal clients, I'm sorry. And you say, wow, 15 days and they get employed. And what's kind of sad, but also very interesting and keeps the motivation going, is that the Federal Bureau of Prisons says 15 days or you're going back to prison. And that's exactly what happens. So it gives them a lot more motivation besides us saying, hey, here's a job, let's get this job. Also, sometimes what we find ourselves doing is doing survival jobs. A lot of times people don't like, oh, they're going to work at Wendy's or they're going to work. Well, they gotta have something and they have to make a step. And then do we get them into some training? In the meantime, some work skills training, some real training, so that they can have a career job rather than just a survival job. Also, we do a lot of HAB services, we do monitoring services, we do GPS monitoring to make sure that people are where they're supposed to be. We do a program called SCRAM. It's an ankle bracelet also that measures whether someone's drinking or not. We're just really, really progressive. I'm not going to bore you with all this. But we actually directly and affect 4,000 men, women, and children a year. And then another probably 10,000 indirectly. And so we touch a lot of lives every year. We always say our programs positively impact thousands more every year. Also, I was appointed the CEO in 2005, and we've grown since then 40%. And actually, by the end of this year, there'll be a complete 50% growth in the organization. I'm just going to give you a few statistics, only because we are dealing with the higher state alma mater, thank you for that. But I want to give you just a few statistics, and you've probably heard this already this morning. 1 in 100 Americans is in prison, in a jail or in a prison. And when you think of that, 1 in 100, so there's probably about 50 people in here, so twice the size of this room. There's one person that's in prison. And when you look at those numbers like that, it's really, really scary to think about how many people are in prison. Just in Ohio alone, 1 in 25 adults. It's probably 2 people in this room. You know, if you look at that number, and those kinds of numbers are really devastating to me. I can't remember the statistics. Lois Hotsteller, she's in the red right here. She's one of our vice presidents, and she may remember the number because it just went up, but it was something like 1.7 million children have a parent incarcerated, and another 1.3 million have a parent on parole or probation. Come on, something's wrong with this picture, and we really have to do something about the picture. And that's what Alvis House is trying to do about that. We also know that having a criminal record is only one of the issues. And that's how we get to things like co-occurring disorders and other mental health and substance abusing issues, because reentry and having a record is just one of those things. Employability is one of those things also. Not having the life skills is one of those things. Not being accepted in your family unit once you return. All those kinds of things are. Incarcerated individuals are 2 to 4 times more likely to have a serious mental health issue, and more than 70% of those have a substance abuse problem too. Ohio, we have an estimated 6,500 individuals inmates who have significant co-occurring disorder. So Randy's going to talk a lot about that. He's up here. And then I just want to say that effective reentry programs are sorely needed. I mean, there's just not a lot of them, no matter what. I mean, you see reentry programs popping up all the time, but they have to be effective. They're not effective. And then what you find too is that so many people, because of stimulus money, there's all these dollars that are out there sometimes, and a lot of people get into the business because of dollars. You know, it's really sad when people ask me, how's business? Especially in this, very sad economic times, and I have to say, our business is booming. And that's a really sad thing to say, that business is booming, but it is. And we're not having issues. We're having issues with our kids, some of those programs and some of our very small grants, but it's about, if you look at our large programs, we're not having issues. And that's really sad when you're looking at the numbers, because they're getting out, and we've got to be there to help them. Glad I did have extra time. But I think, are you our speaker on this panel?
No.
Oh, no. Okay. All right.
You're okay. You're okay.
I saw the red hand. I was like, oh.
We're good.
I just want to talk briefly about, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago. I was talking with Dr. Shively and his clinical team, and said that we really need to look at doing something because of the numbers of people with mental illness and with substance abuse. We really need to do something rather than our traditional community corrections programs that we run. We talked for a long, long time, and then Dr. Shively actually got a team of people together. We did a pilot program, and it's called our Reflections program. And we took one of our facilities and turned it into a facility just for co-occurring disorders. People that have serious mental illness